What I would be looking for if I was you is one thing. Just take one thing away from the entire conference. Hey everyone, it's Mike Andes, and today, landscapebusinesscourse.com, we are going to be doing Q&A. About an hour ago, I asked for questions on the Facebook page, and a bunch of you responded, so I'm going to get through all of those if I can today. Quick clarification, I know I only put these notifications on like an hour beforehand, and so I got a bunch of questions, and then some of them start coming in after I actually record these videos. So I'm going to go back to last week's Q&A and answer a couple of the questions that came in afterwards, and then we'll get into the ones that came in today. If I missed your question, I don't address it on this Q&A, I'll try to get to it on the next one. In the future, I'm going to do a call-in show where you can actually call your questions in, and we'll talk about it. So that's going to be coming here pretty soon. Looking forward to that. But we just got to get the technology set up so you can actually hear the phone on that feed. So I'm just pulling up the Facebook group right now, the page, and I'm going to start going through these questions. I haven't even seen these questions yet, so I'm just going to be kind of giving my raw take on it. A quick thing I wanted to say, and that is on the Facebook group, Landscape Business Course Facebook group, there's been several questions recently about people, like employees that don't show up, or employees that are good, but then they like call in sick a lot, things like that. And so this is kind of my stance on this, and that is you are at the mercy of your employees that are slacking like that if you don't have a backup, if you don't have a bench of employees ready to go. And what I mean by that is I recommend, especially once you have 5 or more employees, to have at least one extra employee that is, you don't need them all the time, but they're there when someone doesn't show up. They're there when you want to fire somebody and you're super busy, but you can fire them because you know you have that backup person. And so I would really recommend, especially once you hit 10 people, because that's only 10% of your workforce that becomes like overkill. And a lot of times, like by adding another person at 10 people, you're going to basically just bring down the amount of overtime that you're paying other employees by having another person there. So it's going to be a win-win. And then optimally, though, you have that person there in case you want to fire somebody. You don't have your hands bound by the fact that you are super busy and you can't do without that extra person, without that person. And so I feel that a lot of times, if we want to fire people, we don't because we're simply so busy. We know that if we do fire them, we're going to lose customers, or we're not going to be able to actually perform the work that we have scheduled on the calendar. And so I think that we are really at the mercy of the employees, and they are in the driver's seat if we do not have a backup person. If we do not have a game plan for what happens when you need to fire somebody. If someone doesn't show up to work and they have not called in, like they would have an amazing excuse. If they do that again, they're fired. Like I'm not going to deal with it. And you're making a precedence for everyone else in the company when you do that, in my opinion. When you're, number one, you're making a precedence if you allow it to continue. And number two, you're making a precedence when you fire them that, hey, that's just not acceptable. And so I've fired people over being late multiple times in a row, and so it sets a precedence for people that, hey, look, that's just not acceptable. You could be fired over it, and it's not the standards that we allow here. And so I want to be in the position as the employer, as the owner, to be able to make those decisions by firing people. Because like I've said in the past, I feel that firing people is the way that you dictate the culture of your company. And so if you don't want people to show up late, you don't want people to call in sick at last minute's notice or without a doctor's note, and you can fire them, you're making the culture of your business, you're making it very clear. I don't care what your employee handbook says, what everyone does. If you fire people on certain standards, that becomes the standard for your business. And if you don't fire people and they're doing those things, it also sets a standard that those things are acceptable. And so I'm going to go ahead and start going through the questions here, but I'm going to quickly go back. I'm going to go back to last week's because, like I said, there was some that we missed. So let me just go back on the Facebook group, Landscape Business Course. All right, so this is going to be from last week. There was a couple questions that came in after I had finished the episode recording. So let me just scroll down here. But I wanted to address that. That was a couple people had posted those things on the Landscape Business Course group on Facebook, and I wanted to address that about people not showing up. I feel like in order for you to be in the driver's seat, in order for you to be able to fire people on a dime and make that decision that it becomes very powerful with the rest of your team, you need to have people in the backup so that you're not in the back of your mind like, oh, I'm just going to put up with this person or hope they come to work because I need them in order to get the job done. What that means is usually means you got to constantly be interviewing people, constantly be finding and hiring people, constantly be upgrading your team. Like, don't just get enough people like, okay, I'm good. I'd still interview. Like, I still take applications, even though it's not as many throughout the year. I still interview a couple people a week. I'm still like trying to find, because if at the very worst, if I can get a hire, I can put them on the bench, maybe lose a few dollars over the course of a few weeks. But when something happens, I can fire a low performer and make a very clear statement if I need to for the rest of my team. So a couple questions that came in last week that I didn't get to. Marcus Love asked, when should I start paying myself? Company has a small amount of monthly income. I have one employee. What dollar amount should I be looking at? Hourly to start or salary? I'm still doing most of the labor at the moment. So Marcus, when you only have one employee, you're going to have a very high net profit margin because you don't have a lot of overhead. You don't have a shop. You don't have multiple trucks. You don't have an office person. You're still doing the work. So you should be able to take money out. And I would really ask yourself the question, what you want. What's the goals of the business? Do you want to make it 10, 15 people out in the field? If not, if you're going to make it one employee and yourself and you want to stay out in the field, I would focus on raising your hourly rate and then making sure that you're taking a salary out of that. And some people like to take hourly, like pay yourself a wage and literally look at yourself as an employee in the business and you clock in and you clock out. I've seen people do that. I like that. And then just taking a distribution every year or every quarter as the owner. That's a cool way to do it. But again, it has to do with, I think there's a question I just saw here about growing your business. Basically, like if you're going to do that, if you're going to take money out, that's not going to align with fast growth because you're going to be putting your money back into the business. Not that everyone should do that, but if you're going to want to grow and scale really quickly, you're probably going to be putting most of the money back in. But if you're doing the labor and you have one employee, I would suggest taking an hourly paycheck, paying yourself hourly, and then every quarter taking an owner's distribution, or in terms of like QuickBooks or whatever, it's going to be like an owner retained earnings or whatever you want to do. You can take a distribution as the owner of the business every quarter. And that would be basically based on the profitability of the company. And in order to increase that number, I would slowly raise your hourly rate to the point that you can either A, hire more people and absorb the extra overhead, or 2, just take more money off the table. Amity Morales asks, awesome, Mike Andes. I saw both videos. Good stuff. Pay on performance. Thank you for taking the time to teach. I am learning and making lots of improvement by your teaching, trying to come to your event. Oh, there's no question. Okay, sorry. But yeah, by the way, coming to my event, make sure you sign up today, landscapebusinesscourse.com/ I'm forgetting now. Oh yeah, /conference. You got to check out landscapebusinesscourse.com/conference. It'll be the best conference you've ever been to. If you were at last year's, that's going to be this good compared to what's coming in 2020. So 2020 January, it's for 3 days in Bellingham locally. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to do a lot of really cool stuff. I already have one theme I'm really going to be pushing, which is pay for performance, and really showing everyone how that all breaks down, really pushing that. Last year we had some common themes were like showing your numbers to your team, a lot of team and hiring stuff, marketing, adapting to change. That was the big push last conference, about adapting to changes in the labor market, in online marketing, things like that. Super big. So this year, I know one of the things is going to be pay for performance and how to implement that for your business. I know a couple other ones I'm working on right now, but it's going to be fantastic. I'm pushing to get a couple buses to take us over, and you can actually tour my facility in person. Lots of really cool stuff. You do not want to miss it. landscapebusinesscourse.com/conference. I already know the tickets are filling up, so check that out. All right, so now I'm going to go back to the questions that were asked, that were answered today. I'm going to refresh the page because I'm sure more questions are coming in as we speak. And I'm really looking forward to, like I said, doing a call-in show. So in the future, what I'm going to be doing in the several weeks, I'm going to get the system set up so that you can call in and live, we can record your questions, talk together, and answer your questions. Get a little more context. So some of these questions, like for instance, that one I answered there about taking pay out of your business, I'd really like to get the context on what the goals of the company are, where he's at, how many trucks, blah blah blah, and be able to get a better comprehensive answer. And I think that'd help a lot of you a lot more than me just answering these questions based upon one sentence. So I'm looking forward to that. Stay tuned for that. But for today, we got 23 comments on this post and their questions for today. So let me just scroll down here. Again, if I don't get to your question, I'll try to get to it next time, but I'll try to get to all of the ones that I've seen so far that come in the past hour. All right, so Nick Brumfield asked, tips on purchasing a well-established company that I have worked for since my dad and family friends started 8 years ago. Okay, so Nick, your dad and your family friends started 8 years ago. Now you're wanting tips on purchasing it, and it's a well-established company. Okay, so like I had said last time, in Pro Plus, we spent like 2 hours on acquisitions and how to value these companies. I'd be happy to look at anyone's P&Ls if you're looking at a company that wants to get acquired. As long as you haven't signed a non-disclosure agreement, I can look at them and tell you what I think about them. I have not got to everyone that sent me these. So this takes me a while to go through these and get to them because it's not a fast email I can quickly respond to usually. But if you have an acquisition on the table, I don't mind looking over the P&Ls and giving my 2 cents on it. I would say that many, many times the majority of the businesses in the landscaping industry are not worth anything beyond the physical assets, the trucks, the trailers, the equipment that they have. And so most of them aren't, but if they've built a business and they have systems and they have a team and they have procedures and it's well oiled, then there's value to it. But I feel like a lot of acquisitions end very poorly. And I think I had mentioned one a couple months ago of a gentleman I was trying to help after he spent like $1.2 million on a business that really was probably worth about $200,000. And I was getting the call to try to help him prevent bankruptcy. And I'm not sure 100% what happened to him in that situation, but that's what I want to prevent people from getting into. So just be careful. Consult. Take it slow. If it's your father and a close family friend, you at least have the trust aspect. And so like when I bought Anytime Fitness, I knew the previous owner from working for him. He was a previous boss of mine. And so I trusted him enough to where I didn't need to look over his shoulder at every single turn in the road. And so that is a big plus for you, Nick. But without, there's multiple ways to value a business and in the lawn care industry. Like you can look at just physical assets and the bank, the balance sheet. That's a great way to start. You can look at the profitability of the company. You can look at how long it's going to take for you to recoup your initial investment. You can look at return on investment based on percentage, like ROI. Like you can look at all those. There's so many different ways to look at it. In my opinion, if it's a poorly ran business, I don't want their equipment. I don't want any of their employees. I just want their contacts and their current contracts. And so again, that has value. Like, is it a 12-month contract? Do they have signed contracts? Do they not? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's lots of variables, lots of ways to value a company. And so, yes, I could talk about that for 3 hours. I'm not going to. Travis Sumners asked, some tips on getting clients when you're first starting out would be greatly appreciated. I've got my truck lettered, business cards, Facebook, and word of mouth from friends, family, and coworkers. Any other ideas that might be helpful? Yes, I would work on a website. You didn't mention that. I could be wrong. You might have one, but I would work on a website. It is the modern day business card and more. And the reason I say that is because even a simple website is the equivalent of the business card. You want to make it more than that. You want to make it where people can watch videos and have an experience and experience your team and what you do and begin to develop a relationship with you. However, I would start a website today. I don't care if it's on Weebly or Squarespace or Wix. Make it simple, whatever. Go hire someone if you have the money to. Make it nice if you have the money to. Invest some time and money into videos on that website if you have money to, search engine optimization if you have money to, etc. Quick note, actually, for search engine optimization, I'd really make sure everyone has pages that are named after the services you provide. So, like, for example, AugustaLawnCareServices.com/mowing, AugustaLawnCareServices.com/landscaping, AugustaLawnCareServices.com/mulch installation. Those pages should then have information about that service item, and that's strictly for search engine optimization. I'm not going to go into why all the factors of that. Basically, Google, many times people are looking for mowing and then something, or landscaping and then something, sod installation and then something. If you have a page that's named that thing, that service item, that's going to be great for search engine optimization, and it really helps Google. Recognize what your business is all about and what services you provide by having those pages named after your services. Richard Bates asks, I have no idea how to market. All I know is I'm mowing 2 yards a night after my dead-end full-time job, and then 3 or 4 on Saturdays, and I leave Sundays for catch-up on landscaping and whatnot. Should I be going full-time, and how do I market to push for more work? Okay, so first of all, someone like Richard is exactly why I'm starting. A lot of you, since the last couple weeks since I actually made it public that we are going to franchise Augusta Lawn Care, a lot of you have privately emailed me and things and asked me why exactly and all that stuff. This is the person that I feel I can help, that has all the skills to mow the lawn, but doesn't have the marketing skills, doesn't have a website. I can do all of that on the back end for somebody and pump leads to them. So Richard, I would again point in the direction of creating a website. I would point in the direction of some of the stuff Travis had already done, like getting your trucks lettered, business cards, Facebook, and telling people. Like, if you want to make the best bang for your buck, I would go knock on every single person's door in your neighborhood. The 1 mile radius around your existing neighborhood, I'd knock on every single door. That's going to be the best bang for your buck. You're going to get the most clients in one day if you go knock on people's door and just say, can I do your lawn? And look professional, have business cards, and yeah. That's going to be the best bang for a buck. It's going to be nerve-wracking. It's going to be embarrassing for some people. Some people aren't going to be able to handle it, but that's going to be the best bang for your buck. And when you're just starting out, that's the thing you should do. Yes, there's regulations. Yes, some people can't do door hangers because of regulations. If you're in a homeowners association, you can't do door hangers many times. You can't solicit. So there's a lot of regulation. In my area, there's a lot of HOAs and a lot of gated communities, and you cannot go door to door. You can't do that. So to break into those, it was like every door direct mail. It was telling every single person at the store, at the barber, at the gym, like just telling everybody about what you do. That would be my recommendation for just starting out. And for those of you like that have asked questions, I haven't got to everyone and have asked about the franchise and things like that. I know about 12 or 13 of you now have filled out a form about interest in the franchise, AugustaLawnCareServices.com/franchise, and that is going to get you the contact form. Actually, is that what it's called? Let me just double check that actually. But that's going to basically, it's just a form that that you can fill out to get more information down the road. I'm not sending any information out right now, but as soon as we are able to, we will have a webinar for everyone that filled out that form. And I will share all the details, the financial requirements, all of that sort of thing. But if you go right now to it is AugustaLawnCareServices.com. So AugustaLawnCareServices.com/franchise. There's just a form you fill out. You fill that out, and then I'll get in touch with you in a couple months, because in September, we're going to be selling the first 10 franchisees. And so from the pool of probably 40 so people that we'll get, I'll be choosing the 10 to launch next spring. And people like Richard are the ones that I'm really building the franchise for. And so for you to ask me the question, I'm answering it now, that have emailed me and things, ask why am I doing this route? It's not the most profitable, blah, 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 and it's hard. I get all that, and I fully understand the implications of running the franchise model, and that for me, it might not be the most financially easy way to go. I get all of that, but I know that for people like Richard, we're going to make a big impact and change the way that his this is the person I need. I need the person that's honest, hardworking, has skills in landscaping, and is going to be very professional. I can do the part on the back end for marketing and getting them leads and generating revenue, and then they need to manage their business, and they can have the option of growing it and scaling it up, or they can keep it at 1-2 people, do it on the side, and just make higher profit margin. So anyways, Nathan Plague. And the only reason I shamelessly plug the franchise is because I just so believe in it, especially for people that are just starting out, young entrepreneurs, and for people that are wanting to start off part-time and generate a high enough revenue per hour, like an hourly rate, because they're so professional online and things, to generate a high enough profit margin to where they can go full-time. I find so many people, they jump from their job going into full-time, scale it up to a couple employees, and then they don't have enough profit margin to accommodate that extra overhead, and thereby they end up closing the business and going back to the regular job. And so I don't want that to happen, and that's why I believe in the franchise, and that's why I'm doing it. So that's why I shamelessly plug those things. I just believe in them that much. Nathan Plague says yearly contracts versus 28 or 32 cycle services. I sometimes find myself being persuaded into year-long contracts for the same price as a regular season services. Cash flow is my problem in winter, but am I being ignorant in doing this? Should I charge, say, 20% more on these properties? So, Nathan. Oh, I think someone replied. Nathan replied, and he said, we doubled in revenue for 4 years, but not seeing profits I once saw. Went from 35% profit margin to 25 to 23 to 25% over the last few years. Okay, so he went from 35 to like 23 to 25% profit margin over the past few years. FYI, added 3 new trucks and 6 guys. Oh, excuse me, got hiccups. Okay, so Nathan has doubled his revenue for the past 4 years, has 3 new trucks and 6 guys, and his profit margin is slipping. So, excuse me, sorry. Great time to have hiccups on a live Q&A. Fantastic. All right, so this is a normal thing, and that is to, as your business grows, especially if you're doubling in revenue, your profit margin is going to go down. Like I've said it before, I'll say it again. Growth sucks cash. Okay, so if you're going to be growing super fast, it's going to take more money because buying 3 trucks and hiring 6 people takes money. You got to train those people. You got to get uniforms for those people. You got to get more insurance. You have to get 3 trucks and insurance for the trucks and fuel for the trucks and maintenance for the trucks. And then you're also getting mowers for those trucks, and you got to get trailers to put the mowers in, and you got to have the trailers that the trucks pull, like lots of more costs. So it's very normal for your profit margin to slip as the company grows. What you don't want is to grow by twice as much, like grow by, you double the size of your business, but then your profit margin to get cut in half. Then you're making the same amount of money on a bigger company. So especially if you're going doubling your company size every year, just expect the fact that your profit margin is going to get lower. And this is the reason, going back to the franchise, why some of you asked questions about this, and this is why I'm answering it now. This is why we're just charging a flat fee for the franchisees instead of a royalty, because as your business grows in revenue, your profit margin gets smaller. So why would I charge someone a royalty so that they have to pay the franchisor more as their business grows? It's very hard to grow a 7-figure business with a grounds guys or a U.S. Lawns because they have a royalty based on gross revenue, so that as your business grows, they're making more and more money, but then your profit margin is shrinking, and eventually you can't grow the business anymore. And so that's why I'm doing the set flat fee. So if someone wants to make $100,000 a year, they're still going to pay that set $1,200 a month as a franchisee. But this goes back to Nathan's point, is he's asking about, the falling. I would say try to keep your percentage over 20%, like a 20% landscaping of net profit margin in our industry is great. That being said, it should be a lot higher if you have only 1, 2, or 3 employees. Like if you're small, you're going to have a higher profit margin. Like I think it's hilarious when people are on these Facebook forums and they're like, oh, well, I make 50% gross or net profit margin money in the bank. Yeah, but it's you and one other person. Like when you start getting other employees and trucks and equipment and office staff, that overhead eats into your profit margin, but the size of the business is 20 times the size of what you were before. So I would much rather have a business that makes 20% and has $1 million in revenue than a business that does $100,000 in revenue but has 50% margin. That's just me. So it's interesting, to more sellable asset. It's a better business model. It's less risk, etc. Anyways, okay, here we go. Nathan's other part of his question was about yearly contracts. I like yearly contracts if you can get your customers into it. This is my suggestion. This is what I would do, is to get scale and to get more customers. Don't go contracts right from the beginning. If you're doing residential. For commercial, always do contracts because they always want it and it's better. But for residential, if you're wanting to get started and grow, I would do by the cut services like you're talking about, same price sort of thing. And then slowly evolve. So once you get to the size, like, okay, I have 400 or 500 customers mowing, or whatever it is, 100, whatever you want. And you're like, okay, now I want to make the company more profitable, and I want to make sure like I'm tighter and better cash flow. Then what you do is just start adding more requirements. So for like us, I've added in certain things like credit card on file. We drop people if they don't pay. Paying via credit card. You can add like where you require weekly service. Then you can slowly move into like where you charge them every single day, like their lawn is mowed and then they pay that day on a credit card. You can do where you contracts. That's like the end all be all, is you have prepaid contracts. They pay May 1st for all their services in May, and you do that 12 months out of the year. That's the optimal place to get to. It's harder to scale quickly using that model. It's hard to sell stuff over the phone using that model. And so for scalability, I would focus on residential, price per cut, and then slowly evolve it to where they're on full service 12-month contracts. That's the place you want to be at. It's not easy to get there fast. It's not easy to scale quickly to that point. If you want to spend 10 years growing your business, that's the way to do it. Use contracts, full service customers. But if you're not in that position now, you can get there by slowly making those requirements every single spring, changing them, and then you're going to weed out customers, you're going to weed out leads, and you're going to get down to the most profitable people. Chuck Birchfield asks, the best way to prepare for the jump from 1 employee to 2. I thought it would be an easy step, but the numbers say otherwise. It looks like going to 2 is a really big hit in the profit book. It is. And especially if you're going to buy a second truck, I would recommend that you buy a very cheap truck and it be used as more of a transport vehicle. So you still have your main truck and your main setup that those 2 employees would go out on, but then that other truck can just be cheap. And that truck can be a Ford Ranger, like a smaller truck, doesn't need to be a big truck. And that can be used for estimates. It can be used for getting supplies. It can be used for transporting one guy to a different job, and so he can do like a cleanup while the other guy's mowing, and it can hold like half a yard of mulch. It can hold like some plants. It just can't maybe tow a big trailer or anything like that. It could do you could do a trailerless setup on it with like a ramp and mowers, a push mower with like weed eating racks. Make a cheap second setup would be my recommendation for if you're trying to get to that second crew or second employee. Johnny Ireland, what is the best lime and fertilizer for your lawn? So Johnny, every single market's different in my opinion, and Landscape Business Course is more about the business side of things, less about the fertilizers and all of that. I would Google your local market. Lots of really good information online. That's just not my strength, nor is it something that I try to focus on. This is more the business side of things. Or even just ask in Landscape Business Course, the group. There are people in there that might be your market that know those things a lot better than I would. Kevin Johnson. Time tracking software and service autopilot lacks, and what's LMN software offers? Okay, so time tracking software. We use Zuby for our trucks. We use service autopilot for our main CRM, and there are things that LMN is stronger than service autopilot, and vice versa. Every software package is going to have its strengths and weaknesses. We've chosen Service Autopilot, and we're sticking with them for now. It's not cheap. It's not maybe for someone just starting out, but it is definitely a solid package that we like, and we are we really like the automation side of that software. LMN offers some great budgeting stuff that I really like. Their estimating software is really nice. We don't use it, but I have played around with it before. Catherine Barber. How do you fire a client when they ghost you for payment? So we have a series of automations and contacting them to try to get payment. If they don't, they go to collections. And we also make first-time mows have to be prepaid. And so the reason for that is because usually a first-time mow, it takes us like 3 times as long, and I don't want to spend 3 hours at a customer's property edging everything, mowing it because it's overgrown, all this work, and then not getting paid for it because they just were trying to fleece us. And so what we do is we get credit cards on file, and they have to be prepaid for that first service, and that helps a lot for the mowing side of things. Landscaping, get 50% down before you even put them on the schedule, and if it doesn't seem like they're going to be accommodating with that 50% down, it means they're probably not going to be accommodating when it comes to paying the final 50% at the end of the job. So that might be a warning sign to drop them. How do I fire a client? So if they're not paying, they're going to go to collections. And before they even go to collections, we're stopping service. So if they don't pay for 30 days, we're just going to stop service their property. It's going to do one of two things. Either they're going to pay up right away, or B, they're not paying anyways, and I'm glad I'm not doing service still at their property. So I would just not do service at people's place, and either A, that's going to kick them into like paying you right away because they want you to come back, or B, you're not going to spend 3 or 4 months doing service for them and then not pay you anyways. So don't work for people for free. That's ridiculous. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to your employees. It's not fair to your business. It's not fair to anybody. Will Vanderhoven asks, what copy do you use for your recruiting ad for potential employees? Okay, so I showed this at conference, the form that we use for Craigslist and Facebook and stuff like that. Basically, I have a couple different methods that I use. One's like very much like shows our big idea of what we want to do for the landscaping industry and like the franchise and what we're trying to do. One is very tactical, like, hey, just here's your hourly rate, because you're going to get people that are just hard workers that need a paycheck for their family, and I want to attract them with like an hourly rate. And then I want to get the big dreamer, the person that's willing to take a pay cut, the person that wants to stay with us for the big, what we're really trying to do for the whole industry and with the franchising and all that. And so I try to bounce around, and subject lines are really important. The heading, that what you call the title of that position is really important. And we really try to show off pictures of our team, pictures of like our award for best place to work in our county. So stuff like that is what we really try to use. Josh Smith, how do you price out extremely large properties, not commercial properties, residential farmhouses that are several acres with a pool, house, shop, and a couple houses on the property? All by hour. We don't use the square footage rate matrix once I think we get over like 20,000 square feet. And that is because usually once you hit 20,000 square feet, there's, like he said, pools and other houses and shops and fences, and it just gets so convoluted. So it's strictly done by budget, like an estimator goes there and budgets how many hours it's going to take, and then that's their price. And yes, that's how we do it. So large properties that are not under 20,000 square feet, we go and send an estimator there to budget how many hours it's going to take. I'm going to refresh my page because there's more questions coming in here. I'm going to try to get a little bit faster here because there are a bunch of them coming in, and I don't have much time. So 1 second here. All right, so we're just refreshing the page. More questions on the way. Let's see here. Okay, I got this one done already. I did that one. Okay. More questions. All right, next question comes from Brett Cole Peniguay, sorry. How do you go about finding good helpers? Not only that, but retaining them. What's your opinion on door hangers and clover leafing? So, first of all, finding good helpers, I do feel like the ad that you go out and you send to other people is important. I feel like a business really begins to mature when you start hiring outside of your friend and family circle. And so, because eventually that taps out, and if you're growing the business to a certain size, if you're going to keep it small, I would recommend friends, family, local people just because you can trust them, and that's a big part of their first few employees, is just trusting them. Hopefully you can trust them. But yeah, that's how I would recommend for finding them. And retaining them, I would recommend using some sort of bonus structure or pay for performance, or paying them more than your competitors. And to do so, you need to have a very profitable business, and you need to price correctly. What's your opinion on door hangers and clover leafing? door hangers, certain markets it works great, depending on your local regulations as well as just your market demographics. Okay. Greg Porco asks, owning your business for as long as you have and growing every year, what has been your biggest challenge? Goes back to the fact that growth sucks cash. Cash flow is a big part of when you're growing very quickly. So I've had Augusta for about 5 years. It's grown a lot. And now we're getting to the point where it's not so much about growth. I don't want it to become over $2.5 million in revenue. It's more about making it super, super profitable by cutting out the people, employees, and customers that we don't want and focusing on the ones that we do want and making more money profit-wise. What was the question? Biggest challenge is finding great people and retaining great people. Johnny Ireland, what is the best... Micah Fortenberry asks, is there a given number of accounts or a given number of specific type of accounts do you need to have before hiring a second crew? No, it has nothing to do with that. People that ask that on forums and people give definitive answers, I think that's ridiculous because it depends on the size of your properties. Like if your average property is a 4-hour mow, you only need like 20 of those before you need to get another employee. If your average mow is a $30 mow, you're going to need like 100 before you hire another person. So I don't feel like giving that. There's no specific type of accounts. It depends on your market, your target market. Like, are you going after small residential? Or are you going after large commercial? Like, that's completely different businesses. Like, you got to realize if you're going after a 3,000, 4,000 square foot lot mowing, that's a completely different business than going after a massive commercial complex or an apartment building or like some sort of strata. Like, it's a completely different business, a different business model, a different employee type, a different margin. Like, it's different equipment, trucks, everything's different. So it's very hard to give that answer, and anyone that gives you like a specific answer is they're just guessing without knowing more about your market. So like if I could call you right now, Micah, I could give you a better answer. Quinn asks, what ratio of payroll versus revenue, labor revenue, do you have weekly or annually? What is the industry standard or goal? So standard in our industry is 26.7% labor to revenue. The 26.7% on average in our industry goes to the person out in the field based upon LMN software that, like their accounting software and some of the statistics that they run. That's the number they come up with. I pay more, and so I end up paying quite a bit more, like 34, 35% plus, like sometimes even more than that. But I'm willing to pay a little bit more because I'm able to charge a little bit more. I'm able to keep people a little bit longer, and I'm not so interested in the profit, the bottom line yet. I'd much rather give up a few dollars, and instead of making a 25% margin, I'd rather make a 19% margin business, but keep the guys, have people that I like, people that are professional, people that don't smoke, people that don't do drugs. I'd much rather pay them a little bit more and have those things. But what ratio of payroll to revenue? The labor average in the industry is 26.7. I would shoot for like 30%-ish. Again, totally depending on your goals, what you want out of the business, and who you want to be working with. I want to be working with people I like, people that I would have over to my house, and so I pay a little bit more. Casey Stewart asks, why does mixing Sledgehammer and RoundUp render both ineffective? Again, Casey, I'm going to focus more on the business side of things. There's great articles, great videos, and better people to answer that question than me. Cody King asks, as you grow, do you seem to help the crew work the office, do all the billings, have time for estimates to keep it all rolling? Oh. Okay, Cody asks, as you grow, how do you seem to help the crew work the office, do all the billings, have time for estimates, and keep it all rolling? Okay, first of all, I have really great employees and team. I have a really good operations manager that we have like a really good relationship in terms of I can get angry and I can get moody and we can like just debate things and we won't get hurt feelings over it. And like at the same time, we love each other and we want each other to succeed and all of that. But like, she is the perfect operations manager for me. And I have really good project managers. I have really good people out in the field, and I have people in the field that probably could be project managers elsewhere because they're that good. And so, how do I grow and seem? So, yeah, I'm somewhat of a micromanager still, but next year is really where I'm cutting ties locally and focusing on the franchising, because I want to be able to go and help all the franchisees start and be able to train them here at this facility and all of that. And so I need to be 100% away from them. But yes, now I am still very involved. I'm involved not so much in the working out in the field, not so much in the office, not at all at the billing, but I am still involved with estimating process. So yeah. Nestor Sanchez asks, what's the best response to say when another company is hired and you haven't received any notice? They won. Like if a customer doesn't get back to you and another company is hired, it means you did something wrong. Either A, your pricing wasn't good. Usually it means you didn't follow up correctly, or you didn't create a good enough relationship at the estimate to make sure that they warranted you valuable enough to hire, even if you were more expensive. So I would focus on, like, what's the experience of getting an estimate? Are you selling yourself? Are you professional? Are you coming across as someone that they want? Are you providing them value there? Secondly, I would ask yourself, are you following up? Are you following up the day after and seeing if they got the estimate? Are you following up and giving them more information? Are you answering their question about pricing? Are you making sure that every single one of their questions are answered and everything is very, very streamlined, automated, and that they know that you're not going to waste their time? Juan asked, what's a good way to lay pavers? A couple people answered him. And again, I'm going to focus more on the business side of things. There's a great answer from Aaron and Jan about decomposed granite and getting it all screened, all of that. That's fantastic. Manny Mendez asked, ever replace a FJ118 motor onto a residential time cutter unit? No, I haven't. I'm very bad with mechanical things. Fixing mowers is not my forte. Fixing trucks is not my forte. I focus on the business side because that's what I'm decent at. I am not good at mechanical stuff. Manny, if you have questions about that, there's lots of forums. Check out Landscape Business Course, the Facebook group. Some people could probably help you with that. Issue this year. So Steven Silva asks, issue this year finding help. Now put me to having an issue with front money for help. Not exactly sure what this is saying, but I'm guessing it has to do with money. Finding people, finding people costs money. You're going to advertise for them. You're going to do career fairs. You're going to market for finding new people. It's going to cost them. It's going to cost people. It's going to cost you to find people and then hire them and then train them. Because when you're training them, they're not making you money as much as usually, like, once they're trained up. And so it's going to take money. Like, that's why I always say growth sucks cash, because if you're hiring a bunch of people, or even worse, if you have a turnover of people, that's constant training. That makes your people that are in the field that are usually making you, say, $50 an hour. Now they can't produce that much income because they're training someone else. And that person's not as efficient because they're not skilled. And so, yes, costs money to hire people. I'm going to stop the questions there. I know a couple more have come in. I don't see them yet, but I know my notifications are going off. But I will get to them eventually. I hope that helps someone out there. Big announcement for today. At the very end of today's show, I am announcing a tour. All right? So I am going to give you the web link right now. I'm announcing a tour. Here it is. So if you go to landscapebusinesscourse.com/tour 2019, I'm going to make sure this is active. It is. All right. landscapebusinesscourse.com/tour, TOUR 2019. That's the web link. And the reason I'm sharing that with you now is because I only want to get the people who actually listen to this whole thing, because it means you're hardcore. What it is this is only for business owners in British Columbia, Canada, Washington State, or Oregon. All right? So those are pretty close to me. If you're within those three areas, Oregon State, Washington State, or British Columbia, Canada, I want you to go to this URL, and you can sign up to try to be on the tour. So what this tour is going to be a week later in the summer that I'm going to come. I'm going to bring my video guy, and we are going to tour your facility, and then you're going to get up to 2 hours, and I can help you with whatever you need. So if you go to the form, it's going to ask you a bunch of information about your business and then like what you need help with and things. And then I'm going to select probably 10 companies or so that are within like 10 hours drive of me, and we're going to do a big tour, and we're going to visit all of you. What we require is that you allow us to video your whole facility, and you do a tour with us, with me. Like, it could be like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I don't care. And then you have up to 2 or 3 hours with me, and I can answer whatever you want, help you with whatever you want. I can get a lot of context by seeing your setup. I can see have a lot of context by seeing your project managers, your people. Even if you just have 1 or 2 employees or you're solo, like I'd be happy to come see you. Lots of people would get information from this. The whole point in doing this is to try to help other business owners that are in the same position as you. So even if you only have 1 or 2 employees, I'm happy to come and see what I can do to help. So, landscapebusinesscourse.com/tour 2019. TOUR 2019. Only if you're in British Columbia, Washington, Oregon. I'm not going outside of those yet. I know we're going to get flooded with responses, and so I'm only going to stay within that area for now, and we're going to do 10 or 12 this summer. If it works out good, next year, so this is going to be season 2 of ZeroTurn, the video series. Last year we did season 1. We did master cuts in Oxford, Mississippi. And then over in Texas, we did IMCO. Those are on YouTube and Facebook if you haven't seen them. We did the on-site tours, and then I tried to help them for a day or two. This one is going to be 10 to 12 companies that we're going to do. We're going to create season 2 of ZeroTurn. If this goes well, season 3 is going to be next year, and we're going to do it around the entire nation, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. So, this is where a lot of the money that is going, how I'm funding this is through like Pro Plus, the course. For all of you that wonder where the money goes, this is where I'm putting the money, is doing these tours. So this summer, we're going to go to 10 to 12. For those of you that are in Pro Plus, there's 2 members down in Washington that we're going to go visit and spend a little more time with. But for everyone else in Washington State, Oregon, or British Columbia, go to landscapebusinesscourse.com/tour 2019, sign in, apply for that. It's going to be absolutely amazing. I'd love to come get a tour, spend a couple hours with you and your team, try to help in whatever fashion I can. It'll all get videoed, and then it'll be presented to the entire community, completely free to everyone out there on YouTube and Facebook, so that they can learn. They can learn from your mistakes. They can learn from what you're going through. They can see that they're not the only one having troubles and issues, and that there is a way to figure it out. And if there's any sort of help I can give to you, I'd be everything that I have, I will give when I'm there with you. So, Washington State, Oregon, or British Columbia, go to landscapebusinesscourse.com/tour 2019. And if you're not in those states, go to landscapebusinesscourse.com/conference. See how I tied that in there? January 2020 is going to be a fantastic place for you to be here in Bellingham. You're going to see my facility, and we're going to have an absolute blast. You're going to meet other landscapers, and I cannot wait to see you there. Check it out. Whether you're going to the conference or whether you want to be on tour for season 2 of ZeroTurn, I'd love to see you there. Thanks so much, everyone, and have a fantastic day.